There was one truth everyone knew in 1914. War was fought on the ground. Men took cities. Men held trenches. Men bled into mud. The sky did not belong to soldiers. It belonged to birds, to clouds, to harmless machines made of canvas, wire, and wood. For decades, military thinkers treated aircraft as curiosities. Flying machines were fragile, unreliable, and barely controllable. Even in 1914, most generals believed airplanes existed for one purpose only: to look, to observe enemy movements, to sketch trench lines, to count columns of marching infantry. Pilots carried notebooks, not weapons. Observers leaned over cockpits with binoculars, not guns. The idea of combat in the sky was considered absurd. How would you even fight? There were no forward-firing machine guns, no armor, no parachutes. Two men passing each other at 70 miles per hour, in open cockpits, buffeted by wind, engines screaming so loud you couldn't hear yourself think. You did not duel in the sky. You did not hunt another airplane. And you certainly did not build strategy around air superiority. Every major power agreed. France, Britain, Germany, Russia. Airplanes were eyes, nothing more. But in 1915, one man stared into the empty blue above the Western Front and saw something no one else yet understood. Not a place to observe. Not a place to drift. A battlefield. And once that realization took hold, the sky would never again be peaceful. Because one young German officer would learn how to kill in 3 dimensions. And once he did, nothing about war would ever be the same. Manfred Albrecht Freiherr von Richthofen is 22 years old. Born in December 1892. Prussian aristocracy. A family with generations of military tradition. His childhood revolves around discipline, riding, hunting, marksmanship. He enters cadet school at 11. He joins the cavalry because that is where prestige lives. Because cavalry is supposed to be fast, mobile, glorious. He expects movement, charges, sabers flashing. But in 1914, cavalry has become obsolete overnight. Machine guns slaughter horses. Barbed wire blocks advances. The Western Front solidifies into a frozen scar stretching from the English Channel to Switzerland. Trenches, mud, rats, artillery that pounds day and night. Richthofen spends months performing courier duty, writing messages from one headquarters to another. He does not fight. He does not charge. He does not feel useful. In his diary he writes, "I am not suited for cavalry. I want to fight." Then he sees airplanes. Small, insect-like machines droning overhead. And something changes. If cavalry no longer provides movement, if cavalry no longer offers glory, then perhaps the sky does. He transfers to the German Air Service in May 1915. At first he becomes an observer, sitting in the rear seat, sketching trenches, taking photographs, sometimes firing a rifle or pistol at enemy planes when they pass close. Most shots miss, almost all. But Richthofen studies everything. Angles, speeds, altitudes, how aircraft climb, how they stall, how they turn. He notices patterns others ignore. He flies with experienced pilots. Then in 1916 he meets Oswald Bolk. Bolk is already famous. Germany's first true air tactician. The man who writes the first formal rules of air combat. Bolk does not believe in lone wolf heroics. He believes in discipline, position, surprise, teamwork. Bolk selects Richthofen personally for a new fighter unit, Jagdstaffel II. Richthofen begins pilot training. He crashes. He struggles. He nearly washes out. But he perseveres. And when he finally qualifies, Bolk takes him aside and teaches him a simple philosophy. Do not chase glory. Do not fire wildly. Climb above your enemy. Approach from behind. Close to within 50 meters. Fire only when you cannot miss. Kill quickly. Disengage. Live to fight again. This philosophy terrifies and excites Richthofen. Because it means aerial combat is not about flair. It is about hunting. And Richthofen was raised as a hunter. By September 1916 he shoots down his first British aircraft, an F.E.2B. The enemy plane spirals into the ground. Richthofen watches it burn. He feels no triumph, only confirmation. It is not sport, he writes. It is war. By early 1917 the air war explodes. The British expand the Royal Flying Corps massively. New squadrons. New pilots with minimal training. Sometimes less than 20 hours of flight time. They fly fragile B.E.2S Sopwith Pups early Nieuports. Germany fields newer Albatros fighters. heavily armed, twin machine guns, faster, better climbing. And Richthofen receives command of his own squadron, Jagdstaffel 11. He is 24 years old. He paints his aircraft bright red, not for vanity, not for intimidation, but for visibility, so his pilots can find him in combat, so they can rally around him, so he can lead from the front. The British will soon give him a name, the Red Baron. But in April 1917, none of that legend exists yet. Only numbers. Germany needs control of the sky, because reconnaissance aircraft direct artillery. Whoever owns the sky controls where shells fall. Whoever controls artillery wins battles. The stakes are enormous, and Richthofen is about to demonstrate what aerial combat truly looks like. Not as duels, not as justs, but as industrialized killing. He climbs into his Albatros D.3 on the morning of April 6, 1917. He straps himself in. No parachute, no armor, only a leather jacket, goggles, a silk scarf, twin Spandau machine guns loaded with 1,000 rounds. Ahead of him waits the largest air battle the world has ever seen, and he intends to dominate it. The engine roars. The Albatros vibrates violently beneath you. Castor oil fumes burn your throat. You feel every cylinder firing, every vibration through the wooden frame. The propeller becomes a spinning disc. Richthofen signals. Wheels leave the ground. You climb. 500 feet. 1,000. 2,000. Below, the western front stretches like a brown, torn ribbon. Shell craters. Smoke columns. Tiny dots moving along roads. At 10,000 feet, the air grows thin. Cold seeps into gloves. You scan constantly. Above. Below. Left. Right. Nothing yet. Then movement. Far off. Specks against the pale sky. British patrol. 6 aircraft. Flying in loose formation. 2-seat reconnaissance machines escorted by fighters. Richthofen signals his flight. 8 German fighters wheel behind him. He climbs higher. Always higher. Altitude equals life. At 12,000 feet, he positions above the British. They do not see him. Their noses point forward. Eyes searching the ground. Richthofen pushes the stick forward. The Albatros tilts. Gravity takes over. The dive presses you into the seat. Wind howls. The enemy grows rapidly. 1,000 meters. 800 meters. 600 meters. He selects the rearmost escort fighter. A Sopwith pup. Single Lewis gun. Open cockpit. The British pilot still does not see him. 300 meters. 200 meters. 150 meters. Richthofen lines up. He does not fire. He waits. 100 meters. 80 meters. 60 meters. He squeezes both triggers. Twin machine guns hammer. The aircraft shudders. Tracers streak forward. The Sopwith's engine explodes in smoke. The British plane jerks violently. It snaps into a spin. The pilot never bails. The pup disappears into cloud. Richthofen pulls up sharply. Another British fighter flashes across his nose. He rolls. Banks hard. The G-forces crush your body sideways. Canvas wings creak. He gets behind the second enemy. Again closes. Again fires. The Lewis gun on the British plane rattles back. Bullets whip past. You hear sharp cracks as rounds punch through fabric. Richthofen holds steady. Short burst. The British aircraft noses down. Smoke pours out. 2 kills. Less than 20 seconds. The remaining British formation scatters. No longer orderly. No longer confident. Every pilot suddenly alone. Richthofen hunts. He chooses a 2-seater. An R.E.8. He dives again. The observer in the rear seat swings his gun around. Muzzle flashes. Richthofen weaves slightly. At 50 meters he fires. The observer slumps. The pilot tries to dive away. Richthofen follows. He fires again. The engine stops. The R.E.8 glides briefly, then impacts a field. 3 victories. The sky is chaos now. Aircraft crisscrossing. Tracers streaking. Engines roaring. Shouts lost in wind. Another British fighter slides behind Richthofen. Bullets tear through his left wing. Fabric shreds. Wood splinters. The Albatros lurches. Richthofen rolls inverted. Pulls through. The British overshoots. Richthofen snaps onto his tail. This time he fires at 30 meters. The British pilot's head jerks back. The plane flips onto its back and falls. Richthofen checks his instruments. Oil pressure normal. Water temperature rising. Ammunition still good. He scans. Sees another dogfight below. 2 German fighters engaged with 3 British. He dives. Chooses 1 British plane. Fires. The enemy breaks off. Tries to escape in a shallow dive. Richthofen follows. Speed builds. Wind screams. The altimeter spins downward. 3,000 feet. 2,000 feet. 1,000 feet. At 800 feet he fires. The British aircraft bursts into flame. It hits the ground in a fireball. In a single patrol. But Richthofen is not done. He climbs again. Finds another British formation. This time 7 aircraft. He repeats the process. Altitude. Surprise. Close range. Precision. He shoots down 2 more. 7 victories in one day. April 6th ends with Richthofen's total rising to 52. The next day, April 7th, he flies again. The British are still flying. Still pressing. Still bleeding inexperienced pilots into the sky. Morning patrol. He spots 4 British fighters. He attacks. Shoots 1 down almost immediately. Then a second. A third. But on the 4th engagement something goes wrong. A bullet strikes Richthofen's head. Not fatal. But stunning. Blood pours into his eyes. His vision blurs. The world spins. His albatross wobbles. He nearly loses control. Only instinct saves him. He dives steeply. Barely clears treetops. Forces a landing behind German lines. Medics rush him. The bullet has grazed his skull. Concussion. Skull fracture. He should be grounded for months. But after 2 weeks he returns to flying. Because April 1917 becomes known to the British as Bloody April. The Royal Flying Corps loses 245 aircraft destroyed. 211 aircrew killed or missing. German losses, 66 aircraft. Richthofen alone claims 22 victories in April. 1 man destroys an entire British squadron's worth of aircraft. But numbers only tell part of the story. Because Richthofen is not just shooting planes down. He is creating a system. He trains his pilots relentlessly. Formation discipline. Mutual support. No individual heroics. Attack from above. Attack from behind. Break off if disadvantaged. He punishes reckless behavior. He rewards patience. Jagdstaffel 11 becomes the deadliest squadron in the world. Then, in June 1917, Richthofen receives command of Jagdgeschwader 1, a wing composed of 4 fighter squadrons. Over 50 aircraft. Germany's first true fighter wing. He paints many of them in bright colors. Red, yellow, blue. Not for spectacle, but for identification. So pilots know who is who in the chaos. So formations hold. So leadership remains visible. The Allies call it the flying circus, because it seems to appear anywhere, strike, disappear, reappear somewhere else. By late 1917, Richthofen's tally climbs past 60, then 70. Each victory confirmed by wreckage, by witnesses, by serial numbers. He keeps a silver cup for each kill. He orders them engraved. Then when silver becomes scarce, the tradition stops. But he keeps counting. March 1918. Germany launches its massive spring offensive. Last gamble. Hundreds of thousands of troops surge forward. They need air cover. They need reconnaissance. They need fighters to clear the sky. Richthofen flies constantly. Sometimes 3 or 4 patrols per day. April 21, 1918. Near the Somme. Richthofen spots a lone Canadian SOP with camo. Piloted by Lieutenant Wilfred Wop, May. May is inexperienced. On his first combat patrol. He panics. He dives away. Richthofen gives chase. Oh, very low. Less than 300 feet. Across British lines. His own pilot signal. Break off. Too dangerous. Anti-aircraft fire erupts from the ground. Rifle bullets snap past. Machine guns rattle. But Richthofen fixates. Hunter's instinct. The camel fills his gun sight. He closes. Fires. Then a single .303 round strikes Richthofen's chest. The bullet enters under his right armpit. Exits near his left nipple. It passes through his heart. Instantly fatal. His albatross climbs slightly. Levels. Then glides. It lands in a field. Richthofen never regains consciousness. He is 25 years old. He has 80 confirmed victories. The highest score of the war. And in that moment, aerial combat's first great era closes. Mid-roll seat. If you find this kind of forgotten history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage, sacrifice, and genius deserve to be told. And by subscribing, You help us ensure they aren't forgotten. What they didn't know in 1914 was that control of the sky would become as important as control of land or sea. Richthofen proves it. By 1918, every major power has dedicated fighter squadrons, specialized aircraft, interceptor designs, tactical manuals, pilot training programs. Dogfighting becomes a science. Bolk's rules become doctrine across the world. Altitude advantage, mutual support, energy management. These concepts survive into World War II, into Korea, into Vietnam, into modern jet combat. The Allies study Richthofen's methods. So do the Americans. So do future Luftwaffe officers. So do Soviet tacticians. The lone knight of the air myth fades, replaced by formation fighting, team tactics, coordinated engagements. Air power becomes operationally decisive. Artillery spotting, ground attack, strategic bombing. None of it exists without fighters first securing the sky. The true impact wouldn't be fully understood until decades later, when entire wars hinge on air superiority, when cities burn from above, when aircraft carriers become the capital ships of navies. It all traces back to canvas biplanes over France, to young men with scarves around their necks and frostbitten fingers on triggers, learning how to kill in 3 dimensions. Manfred von Richthofen lies buried first by his enemies. The British give him full military honors. 6 pilots carry his coffin. Wreaths are placed. A message is dropped over German lines. To the gallant and worthy enemy. Many of his pilots die within months. Some survive into old age. All remember him, not as a reckless hero, but as a cold, methodical professional. A hunter. He never married. No children. Only letters, diaries, photographs. A young face staring out from history. Today, every modern fighter pilot inherits something from Richthofen. The emphasis on discipline, on positioning, on patience, on teamwork. The sky is now a permanent battlefield. That began with men like him. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Manfred von Richthofen and the early pioneers of aerial combat do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.